Sir?
You good, how are you?
Good morning.
Okay, so I'll have some questions for you.
Yep.
Okay, so number one is, what made you want to be a teacher?
My family, I have two other teachers, and I worked with special ed students at a camp called Camp Pride in Yonkers, and I was also a coach for Special Olympics, and so I got interested in working with people that were handicapped. And I also loved history. My dad was a person that loved history and kind of passed that down to me, so I studied to be a history teacher.
Okay, that's all. Okay, so number two, what was your last job?
Again, I've been a teacher my whole life, so I didn't really have any other jobs. I was a camp counselor. I also was a coach for Special Olympics. And I did work at Dewitt Clinton in the Bronx, but that's also a high school, so that's my last job.
Okay. Three, what did you do before you were a teacher?
I was a student, and I was a world traveler. I traveled for about 10 years, but again, that was probably the summers when I was teaching.
Okay. Do you travel a lot? If so, where do you like to travel?
The three I's I mentioned, Ireland, Israel, and Italy are my three favorite places, but I've traveled all over the world: South America, Africa, Asia, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, Japan, all over the world.
Okay. Number five, what was your favorite place to travel and why?
Again, probably three I's. Ireland, I lived there for a year. I studied there in college. That's probably my family connection. So that's probably my favorite place. My wife is from Israel, so I spent a lot of time in Israel. I traveled there multiple times. And I like all the biblical and ancient history there.
Okay. Good. So, okay. Number six, do you have any funny or weird stories from your travels?
A lot of stories. Some are funny and some are scary.
Brennan?
I'll just tell you one story. So I flew from Vietnam to Cambodia, and again, this is an area of the world where safety is an issue. I went to Cambodia, and it was a small place called Siem Reap, and there's a great historical ruin there called Angkor Wat. And when I landed, it was a small little plane. There were 20 people on the plane. My passport was full. So they didn't want to let me in the country. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? This is a small little airport, right? They said, well, you have to fly to Phnom Penh, the capital, and you got to go to the embassy. And I said, I'm only here for 4 or 5 days. And so lo and behold, I got scared. Everybody had machine guns. There was guys dressed up in the whole army regalia. And the guy kind of winked at me, the only person that can speak English, and he says, listen, you slip the guy $100 and they let you in the country. I didn't really have a lot of options, right? So I had $100 hidden in my shoe, gave him $100, and I got into the country. So I would have been otherwise, not in jail, but they would have locked me probably away for 2 days before I could even go, because it was on a Friday. Probably would not have seen anybody till Monday, so I would have been in lockdown. So I was sort of sweating that out, and it was also 110 degrees humid in Cambodia.
Yeah.
So, and I've had a lot of things where I've gotten almost into some issues with cab drivers. I've had a few of those dangerous situations. People walking around late at night with hammers in Costa Rica. So, yeah, I've had a couple. Run-ins.
Okay, so last question. Do you still travel?
It's much harder. I have 3 kids. The youngest being 18 months, 4 and 7 years old. So it's very hard to even imagine doing international travel with them now. I think when they get older, if they're up to it, right, I would like to do that. Now, my wife is Israeli, so probably the first trip we'll take like that is to Israel. My oldest son has traveled with my wife to Israel, to Argentina. So he's done a little bit of traveling. We've been to the Dominican Republic, to resorts and things like that. But it's a little bit harder.
Okay.
So we try. We may do something this year, but nothing too adventurous. Probably like the island or something.
Okay.
Sit back on the beach and kick it.
Okay, well,
All right.
thank you.
All right, guys. Excellent job.
Okay.